So good afternoon. We have another installment of our Facebook Live in English with the attorney Hussein Sadruddin. Attorney Hussein, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So we have a very important Facebook Live today. We are going to talk about what's going on. What we're going to expect with regards to the new presidency? We have a new president-elect. So Hussein, this past week has been, tomorrow will be 7 days since the election, and finally, over the weekend, we have now a projected winner of the election and a president-elect. So what's going on?
So, a few things I think we have to remind everybody is we right now have a president-elect. We don't have a president yet. That's going to happen January the 20th inauguration. But within the 72 days that is left, a lot can happen. President Trump is still the president, so you expect a lot of things to happen during that time frame. But from our side, what we want to look for is the future. What do we anticipate that's going to happen down the road once president-elect take office? And how do we know that? We know that because for the last 6 to 8 months, the president-elect has been projecting what he intends to do when he will become the president. And they do so by producing certain documents on immigration, on healthcare, and everything else. So what we have been doing is scouring up and down, looking at his speeches and hearing out what they are saying. And that's what we are trying to kind of figure out what we can expect once he becomes a president, what we should anticipate. Some of this, Haim, as you very well know, is going to be probably immediate because it can happen very quickly with an executive action. Some of this may take a little bit more time because it will require the Senate and the House approvals before some of these things can happen. So we're going to kind of break it down to see what we should anticipate and then what will be a long-term process.
So there are a few areas that are hot right now. There are a few things that a lot of people have many questions, and for everybody watching us today, we're going to talk about the majority of the show will be in English. If we have any questions in Spanish, please go ahead and do them. I will go ahead and translate the questions. I will put the message or I will say something in Spanish. But we're going to do a Facebook Live in English today. And tomorrow we have another one in Spanish. But so today, Hussein, the main topic we have is what is going to happen to the 11 million undocumented immigrants that are we don't know an exact number. Sometimes it fluctuates between 13 to 11, but the numbers right now and all communications from the campaign name 11 million. So what is going to happen with that 11 million? Do we have the chance right now for something?
Right. So what we are looking at is there's a variety of things that's going to happen. Look, to have immigration reform, which means you affect every single person who has status issues, you will probably need some sort of movement by the Congress itself. Remember, Senate is, as of right now, still controlled by the Republicans. So there's not going to be the president coming in, signing something, and it will go through. But what we do have is some opportunity on the first day, which will be January the 20th, when he becomes president, to immediately impact some of the cases right away. Let's start with the first one, deferred action, DACA. There, as you guys already know, Supreme Court made a decision saying DACA, the rescission or taking care of or forbidding DACA, as the Trump administration did, was not appropriate. After that, the current administration has been fighting that. They've come up with a slew of memos, all of these things. Now, what the Biden administration has stated is on day one, they're going to issue an executive order allowing all the individuals who have deferred action to continue to renew, but also those individuals who are not able to file around 2012 and were eligible to file may be able to refile again. So that's a really big hope because we do understand that there are that at least a few 100,000 people out there who did not file at the time. They may be able to apply at this time. So our recommendation to those individuals is meet with a lawyer, start gathering your documents, because anticipation is that they may get the opportunity to take advantage of it when they were not able to do it back in 2012 to 2016.
That's very important. So right now there's 644,000 DACAs. So
Right.
it's a big number. But we also know, as you mentioned a moment ago, that we have two camps. We have two group of people.
Hmm.
One's, unfortunately, let's call them the procrastinators. People who waited too long. They
Right.
qualified from the beginning. They waited too long, and
Right.
they didn't file their application. So they for the last 3.5 years, they haven't been able to file. And
Right.
then the second camp or the second group of people are the ones who have become eligible
Right.
to apply right now, because one of the requirements is that you have to be 15 years old to
Right.
apply for DACA. And
Correct.
there are people who enter before June 15, 2007,
Right.
but they had not turned that age, or
Right.
they had not, or they were not enrolled in high school, or they hadn't completed their GED. So there are many factors that might not allow them to qualify, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, they are not able right now. So we have those two people who have
Right.
potentially is another couple thousand or tens of thousand people.
Right. And aside from that, there were some individuals, for one reason or the other, did not continue refiling their DACA. They fell out of status. Some of them may be able to refile again this time around. So the recommendation here from our side is, look, you got about a couple of months left. Start gathering the information, start getting the documents, things simply as having either a GED or an application filed in for a GED, something to the effect to go ahead and get that. I know that there was one of our individuals who's watching us was asking what are the requirements for deferred action. Haim, I think you mentioned that already, that you had to be at the time 2012 have to be at least 15 years of age. You had to be here before 2007. You had to either graduate from high school, no serious criminal issues, things of that nature. We'll have to look at.
Yeah.
But you also have to provide documentation. This is the difficult part for a lot of our clients. You have to provide documentation that you were inside the United States since 2007 onwards.
Yeah.
So 2007, 2008 to 2020. So you have to provide documentation that you have consistently lived here in the United States for that. And that is usually a challenge for a lot of individuals to find all of that documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we have time to do it. It's better to be prepared. Yeah.
And I think one of the points that it's important to mention to Ricardo is that the requirements for DACA, when DACA was issued in 2012, might be changed or adapted to certain new requirements coming up when President-elect Biden might reinstate the programs. What are those changes? They might change. One of the reasons was that you needed to be present in the United States, or you had to enter the United States before June 15, 2007, and being present in the United States by June 15, 2012. That date might be stretched out. It might be moved to gather more people who qualify for DACA. So it is important not just to analyze DACA when it was issued by Obama, but it might change in the future. So they have to be very, very careful with that. Now, Hussein,
Yes.
another big question, and I think that we referred to some of these when we were discussing the possibility of some kind of amnesty or legalization.
Well, at this point, there is the challenge with doing something like amnesty or something in effect. The problem is it most likely will require all branches of the government coming together in this situation, the House and the Senate. I don't anticipate that's happening immediately because that would require a bill. It would require a lot of individuals to be participating in that process. And unless we have a Republican, Democratic-led Senate, which we don't have right now, going through that process may take several months. So what we are talking about something right now, amnesty, something broad-based, it doesn't seem like that's going to be on the table just yet.
Okay.
However, there may be some alternative to look at this. For example, one of the things that we also talked about a little bit about Haim is people with TPS.
Yes.
We have
very important.
Yes, we have individuals from Honduras, we have people from Salvador, we have people from Nicaragua. But a lot of these amnesties, at least for Salvador and Honduras, are going to expire the first week of January of 2021, unless something is done. Now, President has indicated, now this is really important, President Biden has indicated that he intends to revisit that and see if we can continue with the TPS for those individuals. But the language is broad. What does that mean? That means he's willing to look at other countries where they have had issues. And one of the countries that he has talked about quite a bit is Venezuela.
Hold on, Hussein.
Yes.
You and I have been, we are political geeks. We like
Right.
the elections. You and I have been for the past 6 days, 7 days, talking about potential scenarios with the states and the votes and who
Right.
is voting for who. And one of the big things that I think that we can come out with this election is that we cannot just single out groups and think that all those groups votes alike. And
Right.
one of those groups is the Hispanic Latino vote. And within that Hispanic Latino vote, we have recent immigrants that
Right.
come from places where there are socialist countries with governments, and they come here and they vote one way or another. And we are not going to single out anybody, but it was said that a lot of people in the Venezuelan community voted towards Trump, but Trump never move forward with any kind of benefit. And again, he could easily come out with an executive order that provides some kind of work permit program, like a DACA program, but for TPS, or a
Right.
TPS through the Department of State,
Right.
which he's ultimately the head of the Department of State.
Right.
But you mentioned now Venezuela, and Biden was clear. In October, he says something about that.
Yeah. In October, he did mention that he is in favor of going forward with given the current condition in Venezuela, TPS for Venezuelans. He had specifically used the word temporary protected status. Now, you brought up a really good point, Haim, that to give TPS, State Department has the authority. That means you don't necessarily have to go back to Congress and ask for them. State Department has the authority to grant temporary protected status to countries which are going through political upheavals.
Okay.
They have economic damage. Most likely, we saw that with Salvador and Honduras when they had to deal with Hurricane Mitch, and then they got temporary protected status.
Yeah.
You had the political upheaval in Syria; they got temporary protected status. So it's entirely likely that he would move forward. And the language that he used in his announcement on his website is very clear, where it says that it's not just going to be those countries that already got it, like Sudan and Somalia and those, but additional countries that may have been impacted. So that may be good news for additional information to come forth, and individuals who have not otherwise been thought of for deferred for some sort of a temporary protected status.
Okay.
That would be
Wow.
good.
Wow, that's good news. Now, a question in Spanish, Hussein. Give me 1 second, I'm going to read this. Preguntica en español, y para todos los que nos están viendo, yo sé que llevamos hablando en inglés, no se me preocupen. Vamos a contestar cualquier pregunta, cualquier duda que tengan. Por favor, déjenosla saber ahí, pónganla. No solo eso, sino que denle un like, denle un corazoncito, compartan este video. Siempre es agradable saber de dónde nos están viendo, así que déjenos un mensajito. Pero Hussein, preguntica en español. ¿Qué va a pasar con el castigo de 10 años? Hussein, question that is very important. And
Right.
this question, I think that it's more important today than it has been in 1 year ago, because when Hillary was running for president 4 years ago, one of the points of her immigration policy was to take down the 10-year bar, the 212A9C,
Right.
which has been the worst punishment ever for the majority of our people, our community immigrant at all, not just
Right.
Hispanics, not just undocumented, but also, people who have come with the visas, and they are not being petitioned by an immediate relative. They are subject to these bars. So, do we know anything about it? Is it too early to know?
Yeah.
Do we know?
So I do believe that it is true. Remember, I think all of our audience, they know that you run differently and you govern differently.
Very
So
important.
there are things that you're not going to go out there and say, but there's a strong contingent within the Biden party and his close circles who want to do what we call flip 96. A lot of these things of the 10-year bar, the permanent bars, and all of those things, there's hope that would be included in trying to get rid of those bars. But more likely, this is something that we are reading, is more likely, instead of allowing an individual to leave the country, stay outside for 10 years, which is the case that we are talking about, you may be asked to be able to spend the time here for the 10 years and file for the pardon here. Again, I want to caution everybody, that's not the case right now. Joe Biden has not said anything about this, none whatsoever. But there are people within his group that are saying that this may happen. So we are hoping that would happen, but right now there's nothing there for us to dialogue about.
So
So that's
another topic that I want to touch with you, Hussein, who's been also in the mind of many of our members in the community,
Mhm.
is what we used to know as the priority of detention or priority of
Right.
removal. In the past, and we know that this doesn't exist anymore because President Trump has taken away the discretion
Mhm.
from immigration officers, from ICE enforcement, and from the courts. And during the Obama administration, we have something called the priority of removal, where
Right.
there was a list, there were 4 categories, and if you fall within these categories, you were able to either get out without a bond or they will define whether or not you will be detained. Do we know anything about this right now?
Well, on multiple stops during his campaign, Biden had indicated, and Kamala Harris also did that, is they want to revert back to what they were calling the smart detention priorities, which was if you had a prior deportation order, if you had criminal issues, things of that nature, then you would be prioritized if you had a substantial criminal background. But people who did not have a substantial criminal backgrounds, people who had long roots in the United States, they would either be granted low bonds or they would be allowed to go on their own recognizance. So the idea here is that you are going to see from this administration, at least what they're saying, is limited number of people who are going to get detained, and then there will be much more opportunity to get the people out. Does that mean that you're going to have limited number of deportations outside the United States? Probably not. You probably, that's going to take a little time. But the
Okay.
methods of incarceration, either you're going to be put in and put in detention, the answer most likely is going to be if the smart rules apply, which is something the prosecutors in ICE were asking, Immigration Customs Enforcement. They don't want to go out there and pick up people with like minor records. So they were hoping for it, and that's something that they're looking forward to it. That's what Biden and Harris have stated, that they would like to go with this,
Okay.
what they call smart detention rules, which includes people with the higher criminal records going into detention rather than people who have, kept their end of the bargain and have not done anything wrong and have roots in the United States.
All right. That's very important because then one of the things that we have and we're seeing right now is that there's too many detentions. You're not able to negotiate with ICE. The
Mhm.
person stays detained for a long time. Now, with COVID, difficulties about getting bonds are more difficult right now because the court keeps closing.
Right.
And with these changes, we will be able to negotiate more like we used to do it before, right?
Right. Because of what they talk about is restoring what they call prosecutorial discretion,
Okay,
which
perfect.
basically means immigration officers and including immigration judge would have more say so into saying, hey, this person is not really a risk to the community. This person is not a risk to property. Let's let him out.
Yeah.
During Trump time, what they had done is they had made very bright line rules. Anybody with this has to be detained.
Right.
And it was not within the prosecutorial discretion to say, hey, look, why are we detaining this old grandma? They said, oh, we don't have a choice. We have to detain this person. That's what the law says. So I do anticipate that that's going to happen fairly quickly. And even ICE, Haim, you and I have talked to a lot of ICE agents. They are looking forward to it, saying, I don't really need to worry about this. I know who I need to arrest. I know who I don't need to arrest. So they are excited about it. So we look forward to seeing that.
Now, I have another question to ask you, Hussein. And before we do that, for everybody who's asking about this content also in Spanish, tomorrow at 7:30 Central Time, I will be speaking with the master, attorney Jaime Barron. We will having a conversation, same that we're having today, but now in Spanish. Hussein, a big question. Many
Sure.
people ask us, they want to petition a family member. They want to file an I-130, which is a family petition. And when we look at the numbers, it takes 20 years sometimes. And the family has to stay outside the U.S. Also, they treat different if you're a citizen and you're a resident. What kind of inside information we have about that?
So one of the things that this is really important that I want everybody to listen to this. Usually what happens is when you're a U.S. citizen and you're sponsoring your wife and your children under the age of 21, they are considered what we call immediate relative. That means there's no line. They're first in line to get everything. Well, what the Biden administration is talking about is moving the chain up a little bit. What does that mean? Legal permanent resident sponsoring their wife and children under 21 would also get the preference category of immediate relative. Why is that important? Sometimes it takes months and years for you to be able to sponsor some immediate family member. But if you get that first category, you also would maybe be able to get into the line much faster. And
Okay.
you're not subject to this quota that you have. The other thing that they have suggested, which at our office, we are all about being honest and upfront with you. So I'll be there. One of the things that they're talking about is this process by which if somebody files an I-130 application and
Okay.
the application is approved, you would get a non-immigrant visa. That means you get to come to the United States temporarily and wait to get your green card, which is going to be really good opportunity. I highly doubt that that's going to go through yet, because I think it will have to go through Congress to allow those millions of people who are coming in who get the I-130. So let's say, I sponsor my brother gets the I-130 approved, then they can come to the United States, wait for to get the green card. There's a lot of ambiguity there. Are you going to get a work permit? All of those things. I think that's going to be a little bit of a while to see that.
Yeah. Well, Hussein,
Yeah.
I know that we started the show with DACA. We already spoke about DACA. But DACA is a program that is in the mind of many of our immigrant members in the community, not just as a beneficiary of DACA for somebody, but also because we all know somebody who has DACA, and DACA has been has been that tool that allow people to go to college, get a professional degree, being able to better themselves economically in this country, and being able to start a life and a future here. So why don't we do a recap? And Christina, don't worry, we will go back to DACA so we can answer for you and for everybody else who had now joined after we started the program. Tell us, what can we expect about DACA once President-elect Joe Biden takes office January 20th?
So the first thing is, I again want to clarify, DACA renewals, people who already have DACA will continue to renew their DACA. And those who have not qualified for DACA in the past, what I mean by that is they were qualified initially, but were what we were calling procrastinators, people who just didn't file in time or did not reach the age of 15 or did not have a GED, whatever the case may be. They may also be able to file for DACA for the first time, as well as individuals seeking I-131s, or what we call the travel permits. Now, what we were talking about is the fact that those individuals, a lot of people are saying, well, when is this going to happen? Remember, Supreme Court already ruled on deferred action.
Yes.
It already said that it was rescinded or taken away improperly. The only reason we have not seen the change is because the current administration basically said, nope, we are not going to implement it. We are not going to follow what Supreme Court is saying. So on January 20th, when you have a new administration, you have a new attorney general, you have a new head of United States Immigration and Customs, that can happen instantaneously. That means the president can basically sign a document, which he has indicated, and all of his speeches, as well as on his website, we have that here, stating that he intends to do that on January 20th, which means those individuals who have DACA right now will continue to go through. Well, most likely they will go from 1 to 2 years, as it was before. Those individuals who qualified for DACA but never applied for DACA may be able to file for DACA. Also, for the first time, I-131 travel permits. Individuals who are having such a hard time getting travel permits may also be eligible to apply, and that could happen pretty quickly. He also, however, I want to point out is that he has indicated, Biden, that he intends to provide support and go after these DACA individuals to gain path to citizenship. Now, my estimate here is that he will try to go through that through Congress to provide them permanent legal status in the United States, but temporarily he can do something like what we talked about, giving them the opportunity to refile and so forth. That would happen, I anticipate, on January 20th.
All right, Hussein. So we're going to talk another topic. It's going to be public charge. But before we get there, let me say a couple highs. Chiquis is watching us. Hi, Kuri Kuri. Hi, hello, Monica, one of our great attorneys at the office. Lore Hernandez, good afternoon. Claudia Johnson is watching us from YouTube. From Justin, Texas, Hussein.
All
Gabby
right.
Gallegos, Hernandez Loret.
Hello.
We have, let's see, we had a couple more here. We had Nicole Escamilla saying hi. Um, my aunt is watching, Hussein. So hello, a big kiss
How
and
are
a big
you?
hug. Cristina Garza is telling Abby Lopez, when they have a name there, that means that they're sharing the show. So they're telling Abby, you must watch this show. We have Tacho Guerrero watching from Richmond, Virginia, Hussein.
Yes, yes. So, but here's the thing. I know we are saying, and then you have Maria from Frisco, from my old hometown. Hello.
Yes.
But one thing I want to make sure that people understand right
Look,
now.
Hussein.
Oh, wow,
Hussein.
California. Oh my God. You guys gave us that big 5 million march on the votes. But
Yeah,
one thing I want to make sure that people understand right now is the time to get prepared.
very important.
Right now is the time. That means follow us, listen to us. If you have questions, we are offering free consultations over the phone. We know COVID is going up again. Come to the office, talk about it. Get your stuff ready. One of the reasons a lot of people were not able to take advantage of a lot of the laws that was passed during President Obama's time is because everybody was nervous. They didn't know what to do. And then after everything went away, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened.
Yes.
So here is the time to get ready and get all the documents together. Birth certificates, college diplomas, start getting all of the, if you had a criminal record, bring that, because right now is the time to be prepared.
Right. We got hi from Mexico.
Hello.
Hussein. So what can somebody do if they want to make an appointment right now? Where can they call?
Well, they can call 214-267-9300 for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You can call us. Our numbers are going right by. We are scrolling those for you. And you can always call 703-544-2929 for our friends who are in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Even if you hang around, even in West Virginia, we'll take you. No worries. We don't count that way.
Yeah, and we have clients all around the United States. Immigration law is federal law. So whenever you are, whether you're in California, you are in the East Coast, West Coast, in the North, in the South, even outside the US, we can help you with the case.
Exactly. So call the office, make an appointment. If you do it over the phone, it's a free consultation. That means you get to talk to a lawyer. You're not going to talk to a salesman. You're not going to talk to a legal assistant. You're going to actually talk to a lawyer who is licensed by the state, and they will review your case with you to see if there's a possibility and give you appropriate advice.
All right. So free telephonic consultations right now. You call 214-267-9300. And Hussein, before we go, tell me a little bit about public charge. What can we expect? It's been in the news for a whole year. It goes up, it goes down, it takes down, it goes back. We put a packet together. We have to take the form. We have to put the form. Right. Wow, it's been a mess with that, and it's affecting, and it will affect a lot of people.
Yes, and I hate to tell you that it's not going away anytime soon, this ping pong ball that we are having. Basically, the federal court said, no, you cannot apply this public charge. And then the Court of Appeals came back and said, well, okay, you can do it for 2 weeks. And then after that, maybe not. We'll come back and see again. So my recommendation to individuals is if I would not wait too long. If you're eligible to apply for adjustment of status, for a family member, I would start getting ready and getting the paperwork ready for public charge and move forward with it. If it goes away, fantastic, because Biden has indicated that he wants to take away what they call the wealth test, the wealth test to see how much money you make. They have indicated that they will take that away, but we don't know what's going to happen. Again, remember, they talk differently, they govern differently. We don't know what's going to work. There will be some negotiations. But at this point, do not wait, hoping for the sun to shine again. Do it right now.
All right, bonus question, the end.
Yes.
Hussein, do we know anything about DAPA? DAPA.
Now, you know what? I wanted to share something with you. This is really interesting, okay? Because I went through all his speeches. This is the word that I'm going to sentence that I'm going to read to you. It states, dreamers and their parents should have a roadmap to citizenship through legislative immigration reform. What that means is Joe Biden is saying that he anticipates that parents of dreamers or DACA recipients should have a way to stay here lawfully, but through congressional action. Because remember, we all have to remember what happened when he came up with DAPA. It was thrown out by a court in Texas, in Brownsville. So he now wants to go through the congressional channel. Do I anticipate something happening on January 20th? Probably not, but at least that's a thought in their mind and they're thinking through it.
All right, perfect. So, and one of the things that if I can mention and add to what you're saying is that he said that he's going to do this within the first 100 days to present something in Congress. And he also, very important, that he accepted culpability on not moving forward with an immigration program during the Obama administration with an immigration reform, that he said that it was their fault that they waited too long. And he's not willing to do it during this time around. So that's very important. Hussein, thank you very much for spending this time with the community. As we mentioned before, we're going to try to do these programs more often, that we also create content in English, because we know that we have members of the community in general, regardless of where you are, because of work, studies, English might be you prefer to have this information in English. So we're going to try to make more of this content. But Hussein, one last message to say goodbye to the community. What can we tell them with regards to what's going on right now?
My recommendation would be, look, we still got 70 plus days of President Trump. Let's just be careful during this time frame. You will see a lot of tweets, a lot of negative stuff coming out. So just be careful, but prepare. Be ready for the worst during the next couple of months, but then also take this time, very important, to prepare for what's coming down the pipe. Hopefully we'll have some good news to share with you guys at that point, but be ready to take advantage of it immediately.
Perfect. And we have one comment. Yo quiero una cita con el abogado Jaime Barrón. I want an appointment with attorney Jaime Barrón. Please call us 214-267-9300. And one of our great receptionists from the reception team will be able to schedule a consult, whether it's with the attorney Jaime, with Hussein, with me, with one of our great attorneys in the team. We all take consults. We all work on the cases. We all work as a team. So please, please, please give us a call and we can see what we can do to help you. Well, again, Hussein, thank you very much for taking the time. As soon as we have more information, and we're hoping to hear, when the days pass, the weeks pass, we're hoping to hear a little bit more information about immigration with the new presidency coming up.
Right.
We will be back here giving you all the details about it. Well, thank you again, Hussein.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. And for everybody, remember that we will have another one of these shows tomorrow, and Jaime will be present in the show. We will be discussing what's going on, what is the future, the same that we discussed today, but in Spanish. So we will see you all tomorrow.
Take care.
Thank you, Hussein. Take care.
Bye, everyone.